don't be afraid on what you're doing. Just be fully committed. Don't have doubts. People ask me all the time is, how'd you get started? How'd you do this? And it's like, honestly, you just got to go do it full steam ahead. So, I mean, just don't be afraid. Just commit to it. And if you commit to it and your heart's there, everything will work out. And I'm witnessing that right now.
Welcome to the Go Hunt Life Show, hosted by Todd Nevins.
This is Todd Nevins, and I explore stories about people that had seemingly normal lives and careers going, but they pulled the ripcord and blew up their comfort bubbles to hunt down their life that they had always dreamed of living. On the show today, I talked to a friend of mine, Dan McKernan. When we met a few years ago, he was in the startup world, working as a web developer and marketing guy here in Austin, Texas, when one day he got a phone call from his dad. They discussed what they should do with their family farm up in Michigan that had been in the family for 140 years. That conversation completely changed Dan's path and mission in life, and he is now the founder of Barn Sanctuary, a nonprofit animal sanctuary that rescues farm animals that have been abused, abandoned, or have been victims of natural disasters. So although Dan's job title and responsibilities have completely changed, he's still an awesome marketing guy and is lighting up social media with videos of his furry little farm animals to educate the public and raise awareness and money for his mission. We get into what it takes to start a nonprofit from nothing, how a recent Facebook Live video went viral because of the startling ending, and what it takes to save the lives of so many cows, turkeys, chickens, and a pig named Little Dude. My conversation with Dan McKernan starts right after a word from our sponsor. This episode is sponsored by PrintDirtCheap.com. Jeff Chrisman, the founder of Print Dirt Cheap, started his business the way most companies begin, with grit, determination, and a vision. And now, a decade later, he's built his company into an online printing powerhouse. If I've handed you a business card in the last 4 years, it was printed by Print Dirt Cheap. And the decals all over my laptop, they printed those too. They print and ship over 30 categories of printing products, from business cards and decals to banners, company letterhead, restaurant menus, and a ton of direct mail pieces. And they have just rolled out an entirely new website, ensuring that your online user experience to place an order is simple and fast. And when you place that order, use promo code LifeHunter for $10 off. And Jeff has just launched Success Hackers, which is a global group of tenacious entrepreneurs that share the latest tips, tools, and hacks into growing a business. Check it out at facebook.com/Success Hackers. Dan, thank you for jumping on the show today.
Thank you.
Where are you located in the world? And if you were to walk outside, describe what you would see.
Okay, I am currently in Chelsea, Michigan, which is 15 minutes from Ann Arbor, 45 minutes from Detroit. And if you would walk outside, you'd be able to see a couple barns and some farm animals at this time, and some snow.
Nice. How old are you? Are you married, and do you have kids?
I am 28 years old. I'm not married, but I've been in a long relationship for 3.5 years with Kelly Holt, who's lived in Austin for quite a bit, and we currently don't have any kids.
But you have a lot of critters outside.
Yeah, we got a lot of fur babies.
Definitely. What is your profession and your primary ways that you earn a living?
Okay, so my profession now is I'm the executive director and founder of a farm animal sanctuary called Barn Sanctuary. And I make a living pretty much, we have a salary, we have a foundation that helps pay all of our administrative costs.
What is let's save that for later on in the conversation, definitely, because I don't know what that means. But you and I have a history together. You were living in Austin. You and Kelly were here. And the last time I saw you, you and I were sitting across the table from one another at the Galvanized co-working space in Austin. And it came up that you were going to Kelly was going to quit her job and you were going up to start Barn Sanctuary. And I had no idea what that meant. But take me back to your life when you were a web designer and developer and a marketing guy here in Austin. Yeah. What were you doing?
So I moved to Austin, I think in 2013, 2012, and I worked for a technology startup company, and I was their digital marketing director at the time. And then I hopped to another company and I became their user experience director. So I did a lot of front end development, trying to make things easier to use. And I was actually, we were charging nonprofits to use a platform that I helped design. So it's kind of funny that I'm in the nonprofit world now. So
was it an app company or for actual websites?
Yeah, it was a service online. It was so that nonprofits could help and create their own web app online that was super mobile friendly to help them, do donations, event registrations, and all that stuff. So I think they kind of changed that model into like the civic area for townships and stuff like that, but I'm not sure.
So you just had a normal job.
I was your typical Austinite techie, loved my tacos and, went to my co-working space and worked every day in front of my computer.
When did the thought start of you doing something completely different? Because you are on the other end of that spectrum. Yeah,
the other end of the spectrum completely. Well, I've had a farm in my family for about 140 years. And so I've always wanted to do something with it. And after dating Kelly for quite a bit, she's a vegan. And so I was eating, some more plant-based foods, and I was reading up more about animals, and I love animals, and animal rights kind of fell into that. And I kind of say like the stars aligned, something kind of clicked in my head. My dad reached out and he's like, hey, what should we do with our 70-acre piece of property? He knew I had kind of the entrepreneurial mindset, and I realized I was looking at like farm animal sanctuaries. Jon Stewart left the Daily Show to start a sanctuary with his wife in New Jersey.
He did?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. And so I was just like, well, heck, why can't I do that? And so, I built a website in a weekend, got nonprofit status like 2 weeks later. And my dad's like, so we're really doing this? And I told him, yes, we are. So
what was on the farm previously? 70 acres. Was any of it farmland, or was it all pasture?
Yeah, it was pretty much pasture. For the last 30 years, it's just kind of been sitting. My grandpa back in the day allowed our neighbors to have their sheep and to graze and breed on the property. So, it was pretty well maintained, and all the fencing is so old. It's like from 50 years ago, so that needs to be replaced. But it was. And then when my dad was a kid, it was just like your typical family farm with a couple dairy cows and some pigs and chickens. So,
did you grow up on the farm as well?
I did not grow up on the farm. I moved around a lot, but I always went back to the farm for winter vacation and summer vacations. So, there's pictures of me when I was like 5 years old, smiling, jumping on hay bales and stuff.
What were the steps? Was it that conversation with your dad that finally came into alignment? Like, you know what? We are going to leave Austin and go up there and start Barn Sanctuary. Was it that moment?
It wasn't that moment. My dad's a smart guy. He wants me to prove the model first. And so we were able to, from my knowledge of working with startup technology companies, getting people to download mobile apps and stuff like that, I was actually able to really take that methodology and apply it to the nonprofit world and get donations, and a reasonable amount of donations. And so I actually traveled every 2 weeks from Austin to Michigan for about 8 or 9 months, helping my dad on the farm, renovating it, and taking care of the animals too, to give my dad a break. And then we got a big lump sum of funding to help pay for, salaries and administrative costs. And so that's when I went to Kelly and said, hey, we're going to move to Michigan. Let's do this.
So when did it initially start? Like, you're going to begin? Was that in May of 2016 or earlier?
May 2016 is when we got established as a nonprofit. So that's when it began. And then we got our first rescues in August.
You've got two things going. So August of 2016, you're trying to raise money before you have rescues coming in. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And while having a full-time job.
How are you doing that? How did you make the transition? And when you're going in and asking for somebody for donations to an organization that really doesn't exist yet, how do you do that?
It kind of started with like a little campaign I learned from, when like local co-op breweries start, they're like, you're part of the mug club or something. And so I was just like, I can go to I know that there's a lot of stickers that come from the company Sticker Mule from working in startups. I'm like, I'm going to create a founding donor sticker. And, it cost me about like 20 cents a sticker. And I would charge people $25 to be a founding donor. And so that's really how we were able to get money in the door because
$25 at a time.
Yeah. $25 at a time.
These were individuals, not companies then.
Yeah, definitely individuals. Yep. I didn't even reach out to any companies because we really didn't have anything to show for it. We were just brand new. And I was living in Austin, traveling back and forth. So we're fortunate to have a foundation help support us now.
What is that?
So it's a foundation. It's pretty much what they do is match all of our donations every month, which is amazing.
Whoa.
Yeah, that really helps us. They're probably not going to do it for too much longer, but that helped us like get our foot in the door and, help pay for our administrative costs and whatnot. So that was real. That's the moment we were like, all right, we're moving up to Michigan because we can make the sanctuary sustainable. And their goal is to help sanctuaries become sustainable. So, and then taking my background and, working in tech startups, the lean model, working from the ground up, and Kelly has the same type of mindset. Applying that to nonprofit world, it worked out great, to be honest.
So was the foundation also part of that initial lump sum? I think that you and I last spoke when you're like, I got funding and I'm going. Yeah. Was that the moment?
Yeah, that was the moment. They pretty much gave us enough money to help pay for, a new tractor and some equipment and help renovate some of our old barns and stuff so that we could get the first part of our property renovated.
And you had animals on the farm at that time then, right? Or no?
Yeah. We had, at that time that we got that lump sum, we were, I think we had like just about 8 animals or so. Not a lot. 8 or 12, yeah.
How much money, when you left Austin, Kelly quit her job.
Yes.
Did you also quit your job, or did you have an overlap where you were able to continue to work while you were in Chelsea?
I had a tiny overlap, but it just wasn't doable. I wasn't giving my all in my day job. I was more passionate about the farm animal sanctuary. So there was a point, I think I only lasted a month doing both.
Not at all.
Yeah, but when I was living in Austin, I was overlapping it because we only had 2 or 3 animals at that time. So,
And your dad was helping you. He was on the ground up there.
Yeah, man, my dad's a trooper. He's like our farm manager. He quit his job. He was a pharmacist. And so he's all in now too.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Yeah.
So describe the moment Kelly's put in her resignation. I remember that day. And it becomes real when you got in the car and drove up, right?
Yeah. We took the road trip up. How
do you feel like pulling up to the house, the farm? You were there as a kid and now you're going all in on starting a nonprofit. How did you feel pulling up the driveway?
It was a little surreal. I felt, I honestly felt really, really good about it because I knew in my heart I was doing the right thing. It did freak me out a little bit because, I've never started a technology startup company, or I've never started a company. I've always wanted to. And so now I'm finally starting a nonprofit, which is just like a company. So I was like, holy crap, there's a lot of responsibility here now. So
what was your biggest fear?
My biggest fear was just, oh man, that's such a great question. My biggest fear was probably just letting people down, not being organized or not knowing the processes to run a business, I guess. But there's so many resources out there online to help you and stuff like that. I've really never done the budgeting in a company before, so I had to learn how to do all that stuff. I had all these administrative stuff, payroll, all the stuff I didn't think about that I had to do when I first started. So,
how much money did you have in the bank in regards to like 6 months, 3 months, a year? What did the runway look like?
Personally or the company?
Well, kind of one and the same.
Yeah, right. Personally, I'm kind of broke right now, but that's okay. It will become sustainable.
Okay.
Because I put a lot of my own money into it. We had enough funding up until the end of last year. We're bringing in good amount of donations and money and awareness where we're almost sustainable. So we had about 7 months to really prove ourselves.
What was the biggest in the first 7 months? What's the biggest challenge? Is it the business side of it? Is it the fundraising side of it? The animals? Like, what's the biggest?
The biggest, I mean, all of those are big things. The business side of it was just personally a challenge for me because it's something I'm learning as I'm going. But the biggest challenge are definitely the animals. I mean, it's, this job isn't like close your computer and go back home. It's, there's emergencies that happen at 10 at night or at midnight. Someone left the water on in the barn or something. And, and all the animals we get, they usually have some sort of health problem. And it's a big learning curve, but I'm pretty transparent to all the veterinarian schools that I'm talking with them. I'm like, hey, I'm brand new. I'm learning as I'm going. I'm trying to absorb all the information you're telling me so that, these animals can live as long as they can.
Who's helping you? Who are your mentors or other people in the nonprofit world that's helped?
Who's been helping me a lot is the National Shelter Director out in Watkins Glen, New York. And this is a farm animal sanctuary that's been around for 30 years, and they're literally called Farm Sanctuary. And so I literally can call them whenever I want, and I get a lot of help with them. They have a conference every year. It's a farm animal care conference, and I go every year because there's something new you learn. So they're a huge help. One of my buddies, Mike from Skylands Farm Animal Sanctuary in New Jersey, he helps a lot too. If I have any questions or even if I'm freaking out over something, he'll help me. It's just like in any other business. It's like the farm animal world, where sanctuary world. It's so small. Like everyone knows everyone. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is helpful.
Helps. Yeah.
A small, tight-knit community for sure.
Support for this podcast and the following message comes from Click Placement, a digital agency designing Google AdWords and pay-per-click marketing strategies for startups, small businesses, and even people building a side hustle. Hit up clickplacement.com to start a conversation. If you would like to personally support the Go Hunt Life podcast, go to patreon.com/Go Hunt Life to make a donation.
I grew up on a farm in Central Illinois. We had cows, we had goats, we had horses. I was on 5 acres, so I can and we leased 40 across the street. So I can picture it, and certainly you're doing a rocking job on Facebook and the live Facebook feeds, which we will certainly get to the big one last week. But so what is currently on the farm now? You've got turkeys and cows and all kinds of stuff. Who's there?
Okay, so we have 4 cows altogether. We got, if you want to be very precise, we have 3 steers and 1 cow, and then we have 5 pigs. We have 5 donkeys. We have 1 chicken. We just rescued 5 turkeys. We have 3 goats and 2 sheep, sorry. So I don't think I'm missing anyone. I think that's everyone there.
When do you learn about animals that are in need of being rescued? Like, what is the typical situation?
Every situation's completely different. I rarely go out. It's not like I'm Googling goat found or something like that. I get phone calls, but one of the most popular ones are people Facebook message our Facebook page.
Are they telling on a neighbor or what?
No one's really told on a neighbor yet, and that gets kind of in a weird realm with law enforcement and stuff like that. We haven't done that, but for instance, Mike, one of our calves that we have who had 2 cataracts in his eye, that a farmer literally surrendered him to us because he couldn't afford the medical bills. And that's something super rare because most farmers will just put that animal down. And so that kind of tells you that some farmers, they have a true heart for these animals and stuff.
So the cow was not being bred to be slaughtered. What was it? Why wasn't it put down? Like, why did he make that decision? Why did he have it on his farm for so long?
Well, it was a baby cow, so he was trying to just use the local vet to help heal this calf. He had a dairy/meat farm, and they just couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. So instead of taking him up to Michigan State University, where it's a teaching hospital and it's pretty expensive, somehow he found me. I don't know how, because a lot of older farmers, they're not on Facebook or anything, but I got a Facebook message, I think, about that.
you've evolved. Certainly, you've got a Patreon page. You're getting donations on Facebook. Percentage-wise today, the money that comes in, what comes from individuals versus companies and organizations?
Let aside the foundation that matches the donations we get, pretty much all, besides the foundation, all of it comes from people like you and, my friends or people that hear about us in the news. And and one tool that I have seen, that Patron tool, I know a lot of podcasters and creatives use Patron, and holy crap, it totally helps the nonprofit world. I'd love to see more nonprofits using that tool, because if you can get people donating $5 a month, that just helps sustain the sanctuary, the money coming in the following months.
Incredible tool. It really is.
And Facebook now. Facebook doesn't charge transaction rates anymore. So it's the nonprofit gets all the money.
What about food, straw, building materials? Like some of your videos, it shows inside of the barn that it's new. Like, where are you getting that from? Yeah. So, we get hay and straw from the local community here because we want to support them and everything like that. And we do get it at a discounted price, and they deliver it every week, which is fun because we don't have to store it. But we just got a brand new chicken coop, and that came from small donations from everyone. We're doing really well with, tapping into the online community. We haven't really even done any local marketing here. A majority of our donor base is out of New York and Los Angeles. Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know. But, I'm just looking, coming from technology, data is super important to us. So we're trying to figure out where a majority of our donor base is coming from. There is a lot of donors coming from Austin, Texas, too, of course.
All right.
Yeah.
Once you outgrow this, 70 acres, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. But it's not 700 acres. There is a limited capacity. How soon, what are you doing to, prohibit that from happening or opening up other locations?
So right now we're only using 7 acres out of our 70 total acres. And I only plan on having comfortably 125 animals on site there.
All right.
I've hired an architecting company to help us with the site map so that we can have a pig barn, a sheep barn, and I think that'll be totally developed in the next couple years because we're moving so fast. And I hope to open up other sanctuaries around locations like where we're at now, which is super close to Ann Arbor, but yet super close to the farming community. We're right on the border pretty much, and a perfect location is Austin, Texas too.
Oh, really?
So I would love to open one up near Austin. That is one of my goals.
Is there one here now?
Not in the Austin area, no. There's one closer to Houston. So that's the only one I know of at this time. Oh, and there's one in Dallas, I believe.
We're going to get to what happened last week here in just a couple of minutes. But before last week, what has been the most surprising publicity that you've received up to this point?
So there's one that I remember. It was right before my brother's wedding I was going to. Ellen DeGeneres Instagrammed a video of ours, and it was when I was with one of our cows, and Cora just laid her head on my shoulder, and so Ellen DeGeneres Instagrammed that video, and I'm pretty sure Kelly was there. I went numb for like 30 minutes. I didn't know what to do. So that helped out. Oh, that was amazing.
What was the result?
A lot of our best month to date in donations.
How long ago was that?
That was in November. That wasn't long ago. And then the Dodo did a video about how I left my day job and then started the sanctuary, and that gave us a lot of great PR as well.
I actually saw that video shared by a friend of mine from high school that you don't know. And when I saw that shared about 3 weeks ago, that's when I'm like, all right, Dan is really making ripples, because that was shared by someone that I've known since I was, in high school.
That's amazing.
It is. It really is.
That video has over like 30 million views, I think, on Facebook right now.
Whoa.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, let's jump to last week. I actually caught your live Facebook feed, I believe, the next morning.
Okay.
But walk me through what transpired last last week of an evening when you were tracking down a cow in the woods.
Yeah. So I was actually just about to wrap up my day on the farm, and I got a message from one of our volunteers saying there's a cow on the loose in Plymouth, which is super close to Ann Arbor. And usually when there's a cow on the loose in a city, in Michigan at least, they put down the animal. They shoot them and kill them. And I was like, well, let me see if I can prevent that from happening. So I loaded up my horse trailer, and here I am in the middle of like Ann Arbor, Plymouth area, like going through subdivisions with a horse trailer, tracking down a helicopter because they were using a helicopter to try to find these animals. And so, I saw policemen with their rifles out. I did see the cow in the far distance in the woods, the live cow. And actually, when I was I was trespassing on someone's property, but they didn't mind at the time. They're like, "Oh, did you see that one cow in the woods?" I'm like, "Oh, what cow? What cow in the woods?" And they're like, "Well, one cow got skinned and butchered in the middle of the woods." And so at first I went there thinking there was one cow, but apparently there were two cows on the loose. So yeah. And so after I went to the deputy to go talk and be like, "Hey, I have a horse trailer. Let's try to get this one cow that's alive." And he pretty much just told me to go away, don't come back. And I'm documenting all this on my Facebook live feed too. Mm-hmm. So, and like a lot of people were watching. And then I was like, all right, well, I can't help with the live cow. I need to go find this one cow in the woods and document it because I was in pure shock. That was hard to see.
So how did you know where it was? I mean, it looks like you were following a blood trail.
Yeah, there was a blood trail. Actually, the neighbors, luckily they were using snowshoes out because we had quite a bit of snowfall a couple of days earlier. Yeah, you don't get that in Austin.
No.
But so I was tracking their snowshoe tracks, and I found some blood. And then right over the hill, I saw the cow there. So yeah, it was a pretty grueling scene, and we were very lucky that people saw that and shared it and were kind of angry about it because hopefully it establishes a good relationship with the sheriff's department.
The news was out there on your farm the next day. The last time I looked, the video had been viewed over 26,000 times. What has been the most promising thing that's come out of it?
Yeah, the most promising thing is we're on the sheriff's radar now. It's like, oh, there's this farm animal rescue group not too far away. And so I'm hoping that we can establish a relationship so that when they're dispatched about a farm animal on the loose, instead of taking out your rifles and shooting the animal, which is frightening for an animal, no animal wants to run away and being shot at. Let's try to catch the animal in a humane way and be safe about it too at the same time.
Why didn't the owners want them being caught in a safe way and returned to their farm?
Yeah, I don't know. At the time I was on site, I didn't actually know this, but the owners were there, and I guess they ordered the police to shoot. And then apparently they're the ones that also skinned the animal in the woods and butchered and just left him there on public property outside of a trail, which is crazy.
It looks gruesome where they just cut it around its neck and skinned it and left it. It
looked like a murder scene. It was awful. I mean, you guys could have done that somewhere else. And they actually took the second cow away from anywhere else, didn't do it anywhere. They took it to a butcher. I think they saw the video going viral and they said, you can't do this here.
Is there anything that you wish you would have done differently that night?
Man, I wish not that night. No, I did everything I could that night. I wish I would have called the sheriff's department when I was first establishing the sanctuary about this, to let them know that we're there in the community. We want to help. But this was the first time I was noticed of a loose farm or a farm animal on the loose. So I think I did everything I could possibly do in that case. I don't want to piss off the sheriffs because you kind of want them on your side.
You want their help for sure. Team up together.
Exactly.
Is there anything like a big mistake or a big decision that you've made in the last 2 years that you wish you had a do-over?
A do-over would be, I guess I don't have one right now because every day is a different day. it's so new to me, everything. So, I haven't really had a mistake that was on my terms, I guess. I wish maybe we lost a little piglet last year when I first started, and I think I wish I would have rushed him to the hospital even sooner because he had a ruptured gallbladder, and at the time I didn't know. So, and all the fluid in his body infected his other organs, and so maybe if I took him sooner, he could have been saved. That was one thing, I think.
Well, you were out there, you're running with the cows, you're laying in their pens with their heads on your lap. And I mean, they are pets. Like, how do you handle, I've got a dog and I've lost a couple dogs in the past, and it is a grueling, heart-wrenching situation. Yours is times X amount of animals that you have on the farm. How do you handle that?
Yeah, it's tough because, big animals are dangerous and you got to be careful. I can't go frolicking with cows anymore because they'll just launch me in the air. They're too big. It's dangerous. And half the time you'll just see me frolicking in the field and they're just staring at me. But each species is totally different too. We just got our turkeys in, and they are so smart and they're so interesting. I can't even comprehend how they're like, but I just sit in there and just try to observe them and see what they do. Because literally every species is different. Like the pigs, when I go in there, one of the pigs, Penny, just loves sitting on my lap, and now she's probably close to 300 pounds, and that she's got to stop doing it. I can't treat all the animals like dogs, so it's tough, but it's a lot of fun.
You don't have any horses. Why not? Or is it that's just how it's materialized so far?
That's kind of right now. Horses. I'm trying to get animals that are coming out of the food system, that are in farm factory situations. I'm trying to educate people about how farm factories are really bad for the environment, and for the communities that they're in. So I'm trying to concentrate on, food animals. And horses do go to slaughter for other reasons, but my expertise just isn't there yet. I think maybe someday we'll have a horse sanctuary. That would be really cool.
What are you focused on this year, or at least in the next 6 months?
In the next 6 months, we are trying to gear up to be open to the public this spring, which is May, sometime in May. I want to be open every weekend to allow people from, inner city Detroit to the local farmers here in town to come see these animals in a different light and for people to see them. And so we're trying to make the front side of our property, that 7 acres, look good. And we'll develop like a guided tour and educate people about farm animals and, the farm factory system, and hey, this is how they can live and all of that. So we're just gearing up to open to the public in the next 6 months.
What is that your biggest challenge? Like if you could snap your finger right now and fix one of the things that you think about last when you go to sleep and first when you wake up, would that be it, or is there something else?
Things I could think about is that I wish we had more barns on our property. So I wish, we developed a site plan and, all these animals, they're in comfortable situations, but we kind of retrofitted our old barns, which are like 100 years old. Mm-hmm. And so I want to, if I could snap my fingers, I wish we had brand new barns where it made sense and very efficient to have the animals living there, and they were in a big open space. Like I want the pigs to have a barn near the woods so they can be in the forest foraging goods. So right now they're kind of, in near the cows and donkeys. And so, I would love to get a pig barn built in the next year so that they can do that. So, yeah.
Let's say you can go back in time and you and Kelly are driving down the driveway up to the house and you're about ready to go all in, and you were able to jump in the back seat and give yourself 1 minute of advice. What would you tell yourself back then?
Don't be afraid on what you're doing. Just be fully committed. Don't have doubts. People ask me all the time is, how'd you get started? How'd you do this? And it's like, honestly, you just got to go do it full steam ahead. So, just don't be afraid. Just commit to it. And if you commit to it and your heart's there, everything will work out. And I'm witnessing that right now.
my prediction this year is that you will be on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll see.
I just think that's going to happen for you this year. You are building a ton of momentum. It is super obvious watching your videos and knowing you personally that you are exactly where you should be. It is incredible.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it feels right.
You can find Dan at barnsanctuary.org on Facebook. Go to Facebook, incredible videos, The Barn Sanctuary, and then on Instagram and Twitter at Barn Sanctuary, and Dan directly at Dan McKernan. And I'll also have the Patreon link in the show notes. Dan, that is it. Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you.
Don't forget to hit up the online printing rockstars at printdirtcheap.com and use promo code LifeHunter for $10 off. Hey, Life Hunters, thank you for listening to this episode of Go Hunt Life. If you like the show and would like to support it, go to iTunes and do this. Subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and review it. It helps. And thank you. If you or someone that you know has quit their normal life to follow their dreams, I would love an introduction and maybe interview them on the show. You can find me at gohuntlife.com and also on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at Go Hunt Life. Until next time, stay weird, dare greatly, and ripcord out.